Hi, thanks for stopping by. This is Michelle with Paper Stamp Inc. and today I want to share with you this fun card with showing you how to make these reverse images of a stamp. Have you ever had a stamp that you just wish you could flip it, face it the other direction, or in this case, have two images that are facing each other? Well, the mirror image stamping technique using the Stamparatus is going to enable you to do that. So let's go ahead and get started. We'll talk about what we're going to use. We'll grab our paper, stamp, and ink. So for the paper, I'm using Whisper White for my card base. I've got a 4 1/4 by 11 inch piece that is folded at 5, or scored and folded at 5 1/2 to give us our card base. Then there is a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of mint macaroon that is one of the returning colors, and that was run through the Climbing Vines embossing folder. So this just seems to be a perfect fit for these jungle or any garden theme cards that you might have. Then I had some scraps of Whisper White, one for our sentiment that is a 1 1/4 by 2 inch piece, and then just a scrap that we're going to use for stamping the giraffe images. I then used shaded spruce and cut out a circle using our layering dies. These are the circle dies. If you don't have a good set of layering dies, these are great. You get your scallops and your plain circles, and they all nest very nicely within each other. So you can end up getting these nice small, I'll put this behind there, make it a little bit easier, this nice thin frame that you can use for cards, or just the individual circles, which I use a ton of for sentiments on my cards. Then I have a couple of little strips of the shaded spruce. Those are 1/4 by 4 inch, so don't throw away those little strips that you end up with sometimes from your cutting your card bases down. And then I have another piece of shaded spruce that is 1 1/2 by 2 1/4 that we're going to use for matting our sentiment. I also used a piece of scrap to cut out this die accent that goes along with the animal outing stamp set that we are going to use today. So we're going to use the giraffe and the Wild About You image on today's card, and the coordinating thinlits die. I use the branches, and we're going to use the giraffe die as well. Now, one other thing that I used today that you might go, what does that have to do with anything? I'll talk about it later. This is the Coffee Cafe set. So it doesn't seem a natural fit, but it does tie in with our reverse image stamping. So let's go ahead and get started with our inks. I have our Pineapple Punch and Shaded Spruce inks, as well as the Tuxedo Black Memento ink. The other couple of other products that I am using are the embossing pen, or I'm sorry, not the embossing pen, the blender pen, and some sponge. Now, I take my sponges, cut them into quarters, and then use these binder clips to give me a nice little handle, and then I go ahead and, if you just pinch those metal pieces, you can take them off. It makes it much easier to navigate with them. And then, of course, for the tool, we are going to be using the Stamparatus. Now I'm going to go ahead and take the top plate off because we only need one plate for this. And we'll set that aside and get it out of the way. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to set this to the side too for right now. Let's go ahead and get started with our shaded spruce. And we are just going to do a little bit of sponging on the background. When I did this circle the first time, I thought it just needed that plain stark white behind it. Was a little much for me, so I wanted to add, in this case, I went and added some shaded spruce, but we're going to go ahead, and we don't have to be too careful about where we're putting it, but I am going to use a piece of scrap paper here to dab off so that I don't have too strong of an image. And when you're sponging, just come in with light circles. You don't need a whole lot of pressure to get the effect that you're looking for. Now, we're just going to go a little bit bigger than what that circle area is. We don't have it to line up, but it's okay if we go larger because it's just going to be hidden by the panel. There we go. We'll set that off over here. And let's go ahead and assemble our panel and get that out of the way. I like to use the Tombow Mono Multi Glue. It's my favorite, my go-to. And we're going to just glue these little strips on. You don't need a whole lot of this glue. And why I like it is it allows you to have a little bit of wiggle room. So if you don't get it exactly in the place you want it the first time, it does allow you to slide it around. And we're going to go ahead and snip that little rough edge off there. Get some nice straight edge. So adhering these to the panel before we put it on the card makes it much easier for us to clean up any excess pieces from whether cutting or measuring incorrectly. Or sometimes you just get those edges that don't want to cooperate. So there we go. We've got that on, and we're going to take our frame and adhere that again. Just a very light amount of glue on there. Now if you do get a little glue outside of the frame, that's okay. This is going to dry clear, so you're not going to have to worry about it showing on your project, but we don't want a lot of excess on there either. So let's slide that into place. There we go. And when I put this on my base card, I'm just going to do glue around the outside edges, and I'm going to stay away from the edge of that center frame because I want to be able to tuck some of my elements down in there. So I'm leaving myself some room to do that. Now let's go ahead and take care of our sentiment. I'm going to use the pineapple punch for that. And come on in. These are clear mount stamps, so I don't need my pad underneath. It can go straight onto my hard surface. My Wild About You. And we're going to glue that onto this matting piece. And I did go ahead and do a lot of the die cutting before we started here so that you didn't have to watch and wait for me to get the big kick out and show that part of the process. If you're interested in some beginning card making videos, I am planning a series, and it will show things like the Big Shot and just some basic tips on stamping and card making as well. So go ahead and subscribe to my channel and tap the bell for notifications, and you'll be notified of those and any other videos that I have coming out. Let's go ahead and take our branch, and we'll get that tucked in. And then the last thing we have to do is that giraffe and the mirror image stamping. Oops, got a little butterfingers today. So leaving that edge unglued allows me to just tuck that under there as if it's coming out of the frame. All right, we're going to bring back in the Stamparatus. So the Stamparatus has this hinged top. We're going to use that, and I'm going to go ahead and do my first image up here of the giraffe, and that's just going to be our basic image facing the standard direction that it comes in, so facing to the right on that card. Gonna ink up that giraffe and put that down. Voila, we've got this cute little giraffe. Now I've got a tip for you coming up too on getting those eyes to be open instead of closed. I did do a little bit of editing on that image because if they're going to be looking at each other, I thought it would be nice if their eyes were open. So here's where this Coffee Cafe stamp set comes in. You can use any stamp set for this. I'm just looking for some kind of an image that's large and is going to fit the size of your other stamp. So we're actually going to use the back side of this. So we're going to adhere the front side down to our panel. Let's wipe this off so I don't get any ink in places I don't want it just yet. I'm going to go ahead and put my giraffe down there. I'm going to make sure that I have the back side of that stamp, and it may not cover the whole giraffe, but that's okay because we're going to tuck him down, or her, down into the card, and so I don't need the entire image. So pick that up with the Stamparatus on the hinge, ink up our giraffe, and going to lay that down. Now, pressing that down, it's going to be picking up the ink from the rubber stamp. Hopefully you can see that on the video. Now I've got the impression over here. I'm going to remove that rubber stamp and then just bring my Stamparatus piece down onto that card base. I should have put my magnets down there. And now we have the reverse image, just that easy. So what I did to color this in, I don't have a lot of the markers, so instead I utilize a blender pen quite often to do my coloring for me. And all I need to do is pick up a little ink. I like to use my clear block. So I'm going to pick up a little ink from my Pineapple Punch. I'm going to go ahead and pick some of that up with the blender pen. Go ahead and take a little off just so it's not too dark, and I can go on in and color this image in. So very quick and simple to color those. It's a great way to get a lot of different colors for coloring without having to purchase all of the markers. Now, I do have some of the markers, and honestly they're a little bit easier than going through this, but this is a great way to stretch your supplies. So I'm not going to color both of these in because I have already colored and die cut a couple just to make the process go quicker. But I just want to show you on this giraffe, I just simply took and closed in that eye area, put a little pupil, and add some eyelashes. Now we have a giraffe that actually is looking at the other one instead of facing with the eyes closed. So just a handy way to alter those, and you can do that of course with any of your images. So I'm going to bring these in, and here are my pre-colored, pre-cut out giraffes. I did do a little cutting on this one. I saved this one to show you. The die cut does not cut out the mouth area, and I just like to have that little notch cut out. I don't know, that's just me. That's personal preference. You can do whatever you prefer. I'm going to put a little glue on the bottom. Tuck this one in here. Put a little glue on the bottom there. And tuck this one in over here. And there we go. We've got our Wild About You card. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe. If you like what you see, give me a thumbs up and tap the bell and you'll get notifications on future videos. If you're looking for any products from Stampin' Up!, please visit my website at www.paperstampinc.stampinup.net and use this month's host code CCK4ZWJM to receive a thank you gift from me in the mail. Goodbye and keep creating.